What's going on, wonderful humans? Ben Ellis here for episode number 4 of the New Noise Podcast.
What's going on, wonderful aliens? Episode 4, Connor Crine, co-host. All right, I think that was good.
Yeah,
All right.
got me off guard a little bit. So today on episode 4 of the New Noise Podcast, we're going to start off with talking about bands and their image, how it ties into their music and their success. So we're going to start off with Kiss. Kiss was a very popular band in the mid-70s. They came out with their masks and their makeup, and a lot of people went crazy for it. Connor and I, we are not crazy for it. We think that Kiss is just a terrible band. They don't have anything to offer that's satisfying musically to my ears. Rock and Roll All Night is probably one of the most repetitive and terrible rock songs of the past 40, 50 years.
I remember like always knowing that song as a kid and being like, oh, this is kind of interesting when you're like really young.
Yeah.
And it was like a jingle. But then I hear it when I get older and I'm like, it's not like I like catchy music and stuff, but that song doesn't stop. That chorus goes on and on. One time me and my dad were in the car driving and we're like, my dad can't stand Kiss anymore. And he liked him in like grade 8. And his family never forgot about it. Like over the years, oh, you love Kiss. And he's like, I fucking can't stand Kiss.
Yeah.
He liked the one album, Alive or Live? It was
Alive. Yeah.
Alive.
A lot of people love that album.
It's a live album from their earlier work.
That's what got them huge.
Yeah, and so that is one positive thing to say. Apparently, that album is a great live album.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And that's the thing about Kiss. They were known for putting on shows and stuff. But with that, I'm all for that. Like what Lady Gaga does, even what Green Day's done in the past and stuff, about putting on a big theatrical show or My Chemical Romance or The Black Parade. I'm for that, but the content has to be good too.
Yeah. They're kind of like back in the 70s, Van Halen was later in the 70s, but that party rock. They kind of popularized that. Eh?
Yeah, and we're not big fans of party rock.
No.
Like even the party music we listen to, sometimes it's just like, not to bring up Blink, but like it's about being a loser and not getting the girl.
Yeah.
Where some of these rock songs from and that's cool, from the 80s and stuff. There's a lot of hair metal people like, and that's cool. But it's not up our alley. And it's like,
I think he had to be around for that time to be influenced by it. For sure.
I got a couple buddies though that they're like hard into it, and they're like our age,
well.
and it's like that's their love.
And there's this. Have you ever heard of Steel Panther?
Yeah, but they're great. Steel Panther's great because it makes fun of everything that is fucked up about that genre.
But they want to be taken seriously.
Do they?
Yeah. They say we're not making. Well, they obviously are making fun of it, but they are hugely popular.
I think they're like Guar.
Yeah.
Where they're pretending to care.
Yeah. I don't know, because I read articles where, like, they want to be legit, but they can't really because...
So now they're trying to... so maybe, like, lately they've been like, we want to start, like, writing more serious stuff. Well, that would be cool. Good for them. But I always liked Steel Panther because they were fucking hilarious and a comedy band. It was like Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I liked about when I heard them. But I'm not a huge fan of theirs or anything.
My buddy saw them open for like Judas Priest.
No way.
Yeah, he said they were the worst. So Kiss was an early band that used image to promote their music and their live show, but a modern band that does this is Slipknot. Slipknot is one of my favorite bands of all time, and they wear masks when they're on stage, and it's a huge part of their live show, a huge part of their gimmick, so to speak. What's your opinion on Slipknot?
I think the mask looks pretty cool. It's not something I would do, but Slipknot over the years, I never understood them when I was a little kid. And you guys, a lot of my friends showed me them over the years. And I started to enjoy the music a little more each time. And I'm a fan of Corey Taylor, but not as much as music. It's impressive, but it's not what I'm putting on from day to day. But Corey Taylor, every interview I've heard from him, every acoustic performance I've heard from him, he's got a fantastic voice. And I saw them live. That's what really made me realize Slipknot is good.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say as well.
I saw them live, and it was like, wow, the showmanship and everything. And that's kind of where Kiss ties into, too. It's like Kiss was all about putting on this huge elaborate show.
Yeah, even on the Rush documentary, Gene Simmons is on it, and then Geddy Lee, he says, "Say what you want about Kiss musically or otherwise, no one was more determined to put on a better show than Kiss was."
Yeah.
So, obviously that's going to influence a lot of people.
Yeah.
And back in the day, besides Alice Cooper, there wasn't a lot of shock rockers, so to speak. So if you see this, you go to a show at Kiss back in the 70s, and you see these guys spitting fire and dancing and going crazy with all this makeup. That's
spikes coming out of their boots on high heels.
That's going to have an impact on you as a little kid.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's true. I actually saw Kiss. Funniest thing, the first band I ever saw was Kiss.
Wow.
I was 6 years old or 7 years old.
Yeah.
And my dad got tickets to go see them by somebody. And he was like, whatever. He just went and saw them or whatever. But he took me with him.
Yeah.
And I passed out at the theater. When I saw him, my dad was like holding me up and I passed out. But I remember my dad waking me up and making me watch certain parts and stuff. And so I remember like Gene Simmons and his blood tongue. And I remember the imagery. And it's like, but that was the first show I ever went to, even though I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan. It's just a funny story.
Yeah. Well, Slipknot, when I was young, I was terrified of them. I saw like clips of them on Much and stuff, and I was like, that's too intense for me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really understand what they were saying. But then they got big when I was in high school with 2004's Subliminal Verses with Duality and like Before I Forget.
Yeah.
It was more melodic and there was more singing on it. And a lot of people liked that approach. A lot of people didn't like that approach. And you know how metal fans are.
Yeah.
So. But over the years, Slipknot's music has evolved to a point where some people think it's not good. I think it's still good. I think they're still putting out good music. And
they're still wearing the masks and everything. And that's that's what this is about. And Kiss, same thing. It's so interesting to see these artists, they're holding on, and it's not a bad thing at all, but it's like, no, this is who this band is. This is what we're doing with this band till the end.
And Kiss, they took off their makeup in the 80s, and everyone hated it, and they tried to, take away that image, and they didn't do well at all.
Really?
Yeah, it was a big
I knew
deal.
they did an album where, like, I think there's an album cover where they got no makeup on. It's the only album.
And then in the early 80s, they did that disco song that's on the radio all the time, I Was Made for Loving You. Terrible song.
Didn't the band put out each of their own solo records, but under the band Kiss still?
Yeah.
So it was like each member did a solo record.
Yeah, they had their own songs on
and it was just their face on the record.
Yeah. You see those albums in record shops all the time as well.
Oh, yeah. And I've listened to, I think, one or two of them. My buddy's dad had a couple of them. We put them on one day. And we were just in tears. Like, it's, you know what? It's weird because I don't even hate Kiss. Like, I don't like them, but it's almost like it's become funny for us all to laugh at Kiss.
Yeah.
Like, we used to be like, I remember when Gene Simmons had his TV show on.
Yeah.
And, like, it was entertaining at times, but it was extreme, like, it was scripted. There's no fucking way.
And it's kind of funny because when in your group of friends, you always have someone who likes a band that everyone hates, but no one in our group of friends likes Kiss.
No, nobody likes
No
Kiss.
one's ever like tried to sit me down and be like, man, you got to get into Kiss.
And even our dads that at one point like Kiss won't even argue it.
Yeah,
they know that even if they liked a couple songs, they still won't defend Kiss.
Yeah.
It's good. We are aware that basically every band relies on image to an extent, with album covers. And obviously, since the music videos came out, that's been a big part. No matter who you are, even if you're like, oh, he's in jeans and a dirty T-shirt, and he doesn't care about image. It's like, well, that still plays a part in his image, right?
Anti-image is image.
Yeah, and so it's hard to, like, you could make fun of Kiss all you want. They're an extreme version, but every band has to go through that. And even with us being in a band ourselves, we've faced that a bit about like, oh, we want you to look a certain way to an extent, right?
For sure. Also, as times change, the music changes and the image changes along with that. So, for example, a band from the 80s, they're still trying to be relevant in the 90s, and it's not quite working out. So a few bands did that. Metallica and Slayer, most notably, they tried to go to a more stripped-down, grungy rock sound on their mid-90s records. Metallica
I wonder if I would like that.
No, you wouldn't.
No?
I have to play you Load and Reload one day.
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
You'll be very disappointed.
Load and Reload!
And then Slayer in the mid to late 90s, they tried to reinvent themselves by doing like industrial sounding stuff.
Okay.
So like Ministry and Nine Inch Nails, and they hate that album. They hate that they tried to reinvent themselves, and they kind of sold out in a way. And when they go back and look at it, they don't like it at all.
Yeah. There's like another example of, especially with Image and everything, is in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
There was every band that was coming out was wearing eyeliner.
Yeah, or
a tie. Like even I was fucking wearing the ties and shit like that. Like the fans were wearing it, like black shirt, red tie, or white tie, and it was like you wore suspenders, and you wore eyeliner, and you messed up your hair. And that was that played a huge part in almost every band at the time that was big.
Yeah.
And I remember sometimes it worked. Like a lot of Green Day's a great example of like before American Idiot, they didn't dress like that.
No, they were just punk kids.
They looked like they haven't washed in a while.
Yeah.
Where they were glamorized a bit when American Idiot came out.
Yeah.
Which worked in ways because there were some people that I won't deny it, there were people that probably saw their look and then listened and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I believe American Idiot to be a great album. So there are old fans, though, that I feel like they shut down American Idiot because they saw the Image.
Yeah.
So it did work to it. And when you see a live show, especially the American Idiot tour, it looked like it was like a Nazi convention. Like the big flags, the red flags that were hanging down. And so like Billy Joe suited up like that with all his other bandmates. It felt like it was like an army. And at the time as a kid, it was so cool.
So over the past 50 years, music has brought along a whole lot of changes when it comes to style and fashion.
Yeah.
So whatever the popular music is, there's an image that gets tied into it with the fashion, and people start dressing like that. So in the 70s, we got the rock star look, the long hair, the bell-bottom jeans.
Yeah.
And then you get into the later 70s, disco comes along.
Boom.
Huge shift. Afros. I guess the bell-bottom jeans came then.
Yeah. And the big
platforms.
Yeah, the platforms. Everything was sparkly, right? Everything you wore, the jackets and shit.
Yeah. It was a big thing to do with image.
And learning how to dance was a big deal then.
Yeah.
Learning how to dance for men. Like, that started kicking right in again, right?
And then once the 70s turned to the 80s, you got into more electronic music.
Yeah.
And that brought along a kind of the popular 80s hairstyle with the sideways haircut, the blonde hair, and
sometimes it was about looking awkward and not cool. Like, there's those bands that like dress like kind of like androids, like
Flock of Seagulls.
Flock of Seagulls, Kraftwerk, Devo.
Yeah.
Great band. Just dressed really weird. That was really in style for popular music.
Punk rock came along, though, in the late 70s, early 80s. So that was a whole other style that came along.
That was a big fuck you to all the glammy shit that was going on. But it's so tricky because punk rock has also been glam.
Yeah.
Like in the past, too. Like, they wore eyeliner and
being punk rock was popular.
Yeah.
Like, and it is still, all the past styles kind of tie into today where everyone's like, hipster, so like you can wear stuff that was cool in the 90s and it's vintage, you know what I mean?
Unless it's a visor. Nobody's wearing an upside down visor with blonde spiky hair sticking out.
So we've already gone through the 70s, early 80s, and that's like 5 different styles that evolved. We got the rock, we got the disco, we got the punk rock, we got the electronic kind of look. So I guess that's 4, not 5.
Mods, like
the mods,
the cleaned up fucking detective look, the mods look, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when we go deeper into the 80s, you get bands like Metallica who bring that rock/punk rock look to an even more intense level. These guys don't even look like they shower.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like an image as well.
Yeah.
And then you move deeper into the 80s, and it's hair metal.
Yeah.
So it's all hairspray, spandex, all that stuff.
And that was
bright colored stuff.
That was a huge style that it's still going on to an extent.
To an extent, yeah.
But almost every rock band fell into that at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Into the hair metal style.
Yeah, well, even you could say Rush, their 80s material, people don't like it because it's very synthy and mainstream to an extent compared to their progressive material.
Yeah.
But it was the time of the music.
Yeah.
Everyone was writing stuff like that. Yeah. You just got to look for it.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say about the 80s, though, the sound is it doesn't age as well as other genres or other periods of time, I find.
Yeah.
It has a very electronic, and they thought it was new at the time. It sounded digital and all cool, but I find it sound very stale.
It sounds more retro.
Yes.
Than to listen to Led Zeppelin. Even though we know that's extremely retro, it doesn't always feel retro.
It doesn't.
Growing up,
timeless.
Yeah, it's timeless, and there are a lot of stuff in the '80s which we love, but we know it's like you're thinking of that time period a little more. Like you're like Devo, like I say, Devo and Kraftwerk. You're not getting music like that anymore.
No.
And it's like a time period, and it's interesting for that reason. Like my stepdad left me a whole whack of, when I got into vinyls, he gave me a whole whack of that 80s stuff.
Yeah.
And I dabbled into it a little bit, and I was like, I hear the influences of like Pussifer and like Depeche Mode and all these bands that still are around.
Yeah.
That take from that genre, but they don't go full tilt.
So moving into the 90s, we've got grunge music, and it takes over. It brings along its own style. Flannel shirts, hand-me-down stuff, thrift stores blow up again. It's a whole new thing. But at the same time, people are wearing that neon ski gear.
Oh, yeah.
That was huge
in
the 90s.
The huge shades with the fucking oil look on it or whatever, the spilled oil look.
Yeah, and the huge windbreakers.
Oh, yeah.
With the sports teams on them. Those were huge in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that stuck around for a good 5-6 years, and then you get into the late 90s, and 3 new styles come along. You got pop, which brings along your boy bands and your girl bands, Spice Girls, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC. And then you got new metal, so you got all your bands like System of a Down and Slipknot and all that stuff.
And out of the new metal bands, there's a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And, I mean, a few bands that we love, though, like Faith No More is known to be one of the godfathers of new metal. And they've said they can't stand the music they've influenced.
Yeah.
Because of other bands that came after it. And System, you mentioned, we're huge fans of System of a Down.
Yeah.
Who else is it? You love Korn. Is he Korn?
I don't like Korn at all.
No, it's not you. Okay. Sorry.
But some of the new metal bands that have stuck around that are still making good music are Slipknot, Deftones. You could say Linkin Park, but that new Heavy song is...
fuck that.
But those bands were very popular in the late 90s. But some of the lamer ones we can name, Limp Bizkit, Alien Ant Farm, Creed. All those bands are just terrible.
Is Creed technically new metal?
I think so.
Really?
They were heavy.
It should just be Christian rock. Christian hard rock. It should be the genre.
I guess so, but along with that style, you know, we're talking about style. So the new metal style was spiky blonde hair. You got chains on your pants, baggy pants, big sunglasses, a visor. You know, you gotta have that hair sticking up.
Yeah, and the new metal was more of a darker look compared to what pop punk was doing. So
yeah, that's the third one I want to mention.
Yeah, pop punk, they wore like, you know, when you look at some of those guys, they were wearing like green spiked hair, blue, red, blonde, all the different kinds. Doing kind of the grunge thing where they're wearing like hand-me-down clothes, but a lot more like bright colors at times too.
Yes.
And just trying to look like shit as much as possible too.
Yeah, and then the early 2000s come along. A lot of gangster rap. Eminem takes over the world. Every kid starts wearing FUBU, EXCO, all that stuff.
That was like a switch,
no
matter what. I remember everyone went through that period. Us growing up, like we went through our look of like Echo, FUBU, what you were saying exactly. Fat Farm for the some of them,
And that gangster rap, it kind of took over because Eminem, he was like the first white rapper.
Yeah, Get Rich or Die Trying by.
Yeah, that was a huge one. White beaters.
Yeah, white beaters are big.
Do rags.
Yeah.
That was a huge one.
It's crazy. That's a very shocking look for an entire, because that hasn't like fully come back with everybody. Like I remember that at that time, everyone was doing that look.
So in the mid 2000s, emo comes along. Emo music.
Screamo, emo, Gmo, you know.
A lot of bands came along, became very popular. They even influenced Connor. Connor, tell us about this.
So, you know, grade 9 into Blink-182, into My Chemical Romance, into Green Day, I kind of absorbed the look a bit. So I kind of went punk rock, emo-y, I guess. And I didn't know right away, like, what emo was. Because I like the more popular bands. Like, there were guys that were emo that were like, they knew emo for 5 years before I did.
Yeah.
Like, it was underground and it was building up. So when I came along dressing like that, I didn't know what it meant. I don't know what it was. So it was, I remember being told, you're you're emo though. And I'm like, what am I? And I remember like being like, holy shit, I do comb my hair over my one eye, and I do dye my hair black, and I do wear darker clothing and all that kind of shit. But sometimes there's an attitude that came with the emo thing.
Yeah.
Just like the goths, like in the 90s, there was a huge attitude. There was like and sometimes it was good. Like we knew people that were emo or goth, and they were nice. And then there were some that were kind of like, it was
mysterious and dark.
Mysterious and kind of judgmental. So
yeah.
There was a piece of the emo culture that pissed me off at times because it was like, I'm different and it's okay to be weird. But I found them sometimes just as judgmental as the popular kid in school.
Yeah, I find you were more a punk rocker than an emo kid. Because
I guess.
You didn't... The emo music, there was a lot of softer stuff. Like Death Cab.
Yeah.
And like Daft Jord Confessional and stuff. That you didn't listen to. But
no.
A lot of girls like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was more introspective in that.
But I liked AFI.
Yeah. That's why I say you're more of a punk rocker than emo.
Yeah, I even enjoyed some 30 Seconds to Mars when that was... Like, everyone adapted that look and sound.
So moving into today's image, we kind of have an amalgamation of everything that we saw in the past. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing, but they're bringing in influences from what they like from the past.
Yeah.
So moving on from the image discussion, we are now going to talk about remastering, re-releasing, and remixing albums and give our opinions on that. Since the release of the CD, a lot of bands have re-released older material, making it sound better, more clear. There's a whole atmosphere, whole topic that goes into it. We're not going to talk about that, but we are going to talk about what we think about re-releasing or remastering albums. So, Connor, what is your opinion on this?
I think it's great, to be honest. There's a lot of music. I don't know if it's just because I'm conditioned to how music sounds, like the production of it now.
Yeah.
But I listen to you'll put it in an old CD, and sometimes it doesn't have that oomph like that. It's lower. Everything's lower. It can't get loud enough. It's weird. And so I like when I get like a remastered Pink Floyd.
Oh, yeah.
Or like we were talking about remastered Rush.
Yeah,
and stuff
for
like
sure.
that. Like it's still that classic sound, and you can still go back and listen to that the way it sounded on an older CD. But it's nice to have that fresh sound that the standards of today.
Yeah.
But in some ways, like we were talking about with brick walling and all that, some of the recording that's going on today isn't that great anyway.
No, but I agree wholeheartedly with remastering. When it comes to old bands like Led Zeppelin and Rush, there are some things on those old recordings that could be tidied up or they could sound better. And I think the bands realize this, so they put the time and effort to put out the best sounding quality mix that they can.
That's totally cool. What I'm not a fan of, and I hope they don't do this. I don't ever look that much into it to know. But do they go back and actually like, oh, let's replay that bass part?
No, they just
It's just about leveling.
Mixing is the sound. Everything is already recorded. They're not re-recording everything.
Totally.
It's just the way it comes across and the mix of everything. So if there's like a part where there's some reverb and they don't want that anymore, they could take that out.
Yeah.
Or there's like a scratchy vocal or there's a sound in the background. They can take that out.
But some people would argue and say, like, leave history alone.
Yeah.
When it's that far, like, I'm all about just the music sounding a little bit bigger.
That's what I feel with the Rush releases. Their 80s material, very thin sounding, very weak. The re-releases of the material, everything just sits in the mix very nicely. You can hear all the instruments.
Yeah.
Everything's level. It's nice and loud.
Like, getting rid of, like, reverb and stuff, like, that starts to tie into, like, the whole thing with, like, George Lucas wanting to redo moments in Star Wars. And just there are certain people that believe, like, leave art alone.
Yes.
It's a time and place.
Yeah.
So even today when we talked about, like, how brick walling's a big thing, we were saying they'll probably re-release a whole whack of albums that we love.
Yes.
But we agree are brick walled.
Yeah.
And that's...
A few brick walled albums are Death Magnetic by Metallica. That got really, really criticized for the way the album sounded. Some good material on there, but it was just... so loud and abrasive.
Yeah, Soul Invictus by Faith No More. In my opinion, like, what a fantastic album for that band to come back on. Like, it just reminded me of how great they are. But once again, brick walled. And there are moments when I'm listening to it where I'm like, whoa, that's like too much.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too much. Like, you should be able to turn your music up. If you can listen to music, like loud music, you shouldn't be
overwhelmed
by it when it's loud.
For
it should feel the same as playing a loud other rock band, but that was just a lot different. But what are some reissuings that have...
Well, not even reissues, man. Just people releasing albums. So the new Black Sabbath album, it has a very loud sound, very brick-walled as well. A lot of reissues. So Nine Inch Nails, pretty hate machine. Wasn't even really authorized by Trent Reznor.
No, because it was under a different
record label.
So I think it's much like when it's... That happens a lot with artists when like they put out their first big thing.
Yeah.
They don't have 100% control over it.
Yeah.
It happens to horror movie directors all the time, where now the company owns that character, and you can either stay with us or fuck off. Right?
Okay. But yeah, Pretty Hate Machine, the remaster, it actually sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I think it sounds better than...
Trent Reznor had a problem with it.
Yeah.
I think his beef was probably...
It wasn't to do with the sound of it. He didn't have control of it, and it was being released without his permission.
Yeah. And so Trent Reznor's fantastic. So it would have been smart of them to probably contact him and maybe him have a part in the remastering.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the reason the album exists, but that's just fucking corporate bullshit for you right there.
Yeah.
But we do agree that it's great to have the remaster anyways, because it does sound just as big as the other records.
Yeah, that's how I feel. And when it comes to re-releasing things and remastering them, I think that James Hetfield does have a point when he says, it's a point in time, leave it there, don't mess with it.
Yeah.
I think that is a true statement, and I think I could get behind that. But at the same time, when it comes to Metallica's album and Justice for All, I think there needs to be a re-release. And he doesn't think so because he thinks it's a moment in time. But you cannot hear the bass on that album at all.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you put the bass up, whole new album. When it comes to remastering, I find that older albums are often... They sound a lot better when they are remastered and reissued that way. Led Zeppelin is a perfect example. All their albums were remastered by Jimmy Page. He went through all their back catalog, made sure everything sounded to his liking, and they sound amazing. A big difference from the original recordings.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm happy about that. So you are big into remix albums. A lot of bands that you like have remix albums. Nine Inch Nails, Pussifer, namely. Yeah. I'm not huge into them. I know of them, and whenever they come on Shuffle or something, they really catch me off guard because I don't know it, and they're kind of weird, right? Because it's a remix. It's a reimagining of the song.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite some of your favorite remix albums?
Pussifer's Conditions of My Parole remix album. It's called All Remixed Up.
Yep.
That's a great one. It's got a lot... What I love about remixes the best is like the whole idea of not just putting... Some people just put like a drum track to a whole song.
Yeah.
Like a new drum track, and it's like, it's sped up a bit, and you're like, oh, that's a remix. I'm not into that. I'm into like reimagining the song. So stripping everything down and maybe making it more of a ballad, but keeping the same vocals. That's sometimes cool. Or turning a rock song into kind of more of an industrial clubby song if it works. There are times like Pussifer's done it where it's like, this could be played in a gothic club or something like that. So Nine Inch Nails has a great remix album called Year Zero Remixed.
Yeah.
That's a favorite of mine. It features there's right off the bat when the album kicks in, it's the same song as the original album.
Yeah.
Which the song's an instrumental, but right away they kick in with Saul Williams, the rapper, rapping instead.
Yeah.
So it just totally throws the rest of it off, and some songs are stripped right down to acoustic, and they're still super dark. So I just like, and I don't think every band should do it. I don't think every band's good at it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But with certain bands, I look forward to it all the time. Pussifer, every time they release an album, like a full length, a remixed album of that album's coming out. Yeah. And it's just great to hear it under a different light. Like they'll take away Maynard's vocals and just have Karina Round from Pussifer sing a whole verse. And you're like, holy shit, you couldn't hear that much back. And when they're both singing, you hear Maynard more, but in the remix, you got a little more appreciation for her. So
yeah, when it comes to remixing and stuff, I also want to mention bonus tracks. What do you think about bonus tracks? Do you think bands should put them out there, or do you feel like they're just not good enough for the album and it's just for fans enjoying it?
I think it all depends on the songs. Like, there's times where I see bonus tracks and I'm like, why the fuck wasn't this on the album?
That's how I feel. I feel like Queens of the Stone Age, all their bonus tracks
Yeah.
should be on the album.
Yeah.
Era Vulgaris, they have a song called Era Vulgaris, and it's not even on the record.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing because it has Trent Reznor on it. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorite Queen songs.
Yes.
So, but yeah, like you said, some bands, they have really good bonus tracks. It's like, why'd you leave this off the album? It's really good. But then other bands, it's like, oh, I can see why they left this off. Or it's like a live track or something old that they haven't released.
I think it's a battle with the record companies.
That's true.
I think that's a huge part of it. We talked about it with Blink had Take Off Your Pants and Jacket.
Yeah, they had all those extra songs.
They wanted like a shitload of funny songs. Yeah. They didn't want to be taken too serious. And that's when the seriousness started, sort of. Like the fashion was more important. And they tried to really rebel against the record company in that way. And they weren't allowed to put those songs on the record. So what did? They released 4 extra bonus songs that were all joke songs.
Yeah.
And some weird ones, like you were saying, Queens of the Stone Age, with like how they leave out incredible songs. I honestly think it's the record company. And it's like, okay, that's not what you want to promote for the first release. How can we make this work for both of us? Well, we'll put out a deluxe edition too that some people can buy.
What upsets me about deluxe editions too is like sometimes they come on vinyl and then I'll add a bonus track or something to the existing vinyl. And it's like, no, this is a classic album. I don't want that track on the end of it.
Oh, yeah?
I want it to end on the,
It depends.
The last track. Because I have 2 albums like that. Super Unknown by Soundgarden.
Yeah.
Which pisses me off to no end. Because it has this shitty outtake on the end of it, on the remaster, where the original song is like the best closer ever.
Oh.
So that upsets me. And then Sum 41, Chuck, has like 2 bonus tracks on it.
At the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, I don't know, I just think it ruins the flow of the album and like how it's supposed to be.
It all depends to me because it really depends on the songs. If you heard those Chuck songs and they were those songs at the end of the Sum 41 album, they were amazing.
The thing is, they're leftovers and they sound too similar to songs on the album.
It was too half-assed.
Yeah, that's why they left them out.
Like Blink's self-titled.
Yeah.
On the vinyl, some of the newer vinyls that they've put out now, the ones from SRC, they release Not Now, the song, on the end of it.
That's a bonus, though.
That is a bonus.
Because that song's amazing.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Because I think
that song, that's an example.
Should have ended the album instead of I'm Lost Without You.
Yeah, it should have ended the album. It's known as one of the best Blink songs.
Oh, for sure.
And it wasn't known. Luckily, what happened was it was a B-side on the song I Miss You.
Yeah.
It was recorded during that time. So it makes sense that they eventually put it as a bonus track. Yeah. I like that too, when you're like, what other songs did they record at that time? Not just throw on something.
Led Zeppelin was a prime example of that. They released like 5, 6 albums in 5 years.
Yeah.
And they always had material, but they never put all of it on an album because they felt it didn't fit with the album or something.
Which is smart.
Yeah.
Don't just write like...
Yeah, so Physical Graffiti, their double album, has like a whole bunch of stuff from like the Led Zeppelin 4 sessions, Led Zeppelin 3 sessions, but it still flows very well because it's like a collection of all this stuff that has happened through time. That's like an evolution.
And they picked and chose. They
chose the track order.
The track order, so that even though they came from different times, they made it so it flowed like a normal record. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and a lot of times Radiohead's another band. They'll sit on songs for like 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Make like different versions of them.
Yeah.
And they won't put out a version on an album until they're happy with it or they feel like it's good enough.
Sometimes a good way of looking at it too is if you want to know how good a bonus song is, if it's worth it, think of it on an EP. Would it do well?
Yeah.
Like instead of throwing those 4 songs on the end of an album, why not take those 4 songs and in half a year release an EP?
Yeah.
If the songs aren't good enough all together, then why the hell did you release them anyway?
Yeah.
Right? So I think I love EPs for that.
Moving on from the remastered, re-released, remixed topic, we are now going to talk about the closing of HMV stores across Canada. This is a very sad thing for both Connor and I. We grew up buying our favorite CDs, going to the CD store, picking it out, looking at the album artwork, bought our first albums there, so it's very close to our heart. Connor, what do you think about this whole thing?
I mean, we knew it was coming. Years ago, they were discussing how they were like, we're gonna have to shut down. And then I guess some people helped
bought them
out
to
try and get them up and running again. And they did. It was kind of surprising because HMV was always still kind of busy.
Yeah.
And they started to take on like kind of the appliance accessories a little more instead of just movies and DVDs and vinyl. Vinyl was getting big again, so I thought it was thriving again, but I guess I was wrong.
Yeah.
So that was shocking, but it is sad. Like, it is sad because especially the HMV that I know in Newmarket, my whole life, even living in Willow Beach and in Fenelon Falls, I would always go to the Newmarket Upper Canada Mall.
Yeah, for sure.
And I remember back then it was like there was 3 different music stores open.
Yeah.
Music World, CD Plus, HMV, that you had choices, and some of them, Sunrise.
Yeah.
That one was a big deal. I loved Sunrise. Even though it was pricey, that was where they failed, I think. I mean, that's the problem too, right? Is they have to jack up the prices if you're not making enough money. Sometimes they have to jack up prices because things aren't popular anymore. But that was very shocking. It was, like we were saying, growing up, it was so nice. I remember taking an hour bus to Newmarket just to grab my favorite CD, go to the food court, get some shitty food, open it up, look through the artwork, everything, get myself excited.
Yeah.
Put it away, go home, or have my CD Walkman right there.
Yeah.
Put it in, bus ride home, an hour.
So
to
happy.
Just explore this record.
Yeah.
Whether it was AFI's new record or anything. But I just remember these examples, and it's sad to see that go, but that might be the old man in us, right? Like,
we like to have physical copies of things. We grew up that way. And I think that's why we still collect vinyl in a way, because we like the search and we like to have that physical thing in front of us. So it's very sad because it's kind of an end of the era for the CD.
Yeah, I mean, I stopped collecting CDs, but there was a period there for the last few years where I was going to thrift stores still and checking them out because they were only like $2 and all that. But I don't realize that, like, that's affecting the CD situation because I'm not going to HMV and buying a CD anymore. That's just not what I do.
Yeah.
And anytime I get a CD now too, it's like if I go online, like a new album's coming out, it's smart too to buy from the bands as well, directly from them, even though it's also good to support your local vinyl shop or music store. The way I usually get CDs is like you get a bundle package. Yeah. So the band will, like, if you want to get the vinyl, it'll also come with the CD. I like that. I think that's a big way of getting CDs out there still, is to go, if you buy our vinyl, we'll give you a CD. I love when you get a vinyl and there's a CD inside the vinyl. Yeah. Have you gotten a few of those? Yeah. I love it. Do
you prefer it to the digital download codes? Or do you think that's just as good?
I don't think it's just as good because you could lose digital download codes.
I guess that's true.
Once you use them, and if your computer crashes, that's it. You always have that CD in the back of your vinyl.
That's true.
So it is better. In the end, it is better, but it doesn't make it easier.
That's true.
If you can keep that digital code forever, then yeah, it was easier to just keep that and not worry about this other piece, but it slides into your vinyl anyway. So if you're buying the vinyl, you have storage for it. But it's interesting because even though we're talking about how sad it is that all this shit is happening, because it is sad to see. We were saying that it's great to start supporting our the local vinyl shops, music shops. That's very important because I would always go to if HMV had a vinyl, majority of the time it would be a few bucks cheaper than a local store. Yeah. Majority of the time. There are surprising places that are really good. So with HMV gone now, well, now these people don't have to up their prices so much, right? Yeah. It's just mom and pop shops, so they're not like spending shitloads of money to be there, and they can keep their prices reasonable. So it is good for, in a way. Yeah. It's not. Remember, these are like the Walmarts of vinyl shops. So we're looking at it like it's evil that it's been taken down, but maybe it's better that the mom and pops own the vinyl shops, right?
Yeah, and I feel like with CDs, when they came out, it was such a huge revelation, you know? Yeah. No more big vinyls and stuff, but now vinyl's coming back.
It's so weird how big it's...
And CDs, they're going to become obsolete. Apparently, there's a huge problem with rot on CDs.
Rot?
Rot. Over time, CDs, they get moldy. If they just sit around, they start to decompose, and some of them, depending on where they're made, they start to rot. Wow. Becoming a huge problem now that CDs have been around since the 80s. Yeah. So, but to think about, I never thought a CD would, I thought they'd be around forever when I was a kid.
Yeah. Well, and one thing, CDs, I remember my mom telling me this. When CDs first came out, they were not just advertised as very small, compatible and small. They were harder to scratch.
Yeah.
They were advertised as harder to ruin than a vinyl.
Which is
It's
ridiculous.
not the case anymore.
No.
If you buy a CD, if you look at your parents' CDs, if they still have them, and you look for one that's like early 90s or late 80s, you'll notice how strong the CD is. It's very strong back then.
Yeah.
Like there's some, it's very tough to break.
And then these days, it's like they're flimsy as hell.
Yeah, they're getting worse and worse. So people are either going, fuck that. CDs break easily too. Like the cases and shit too. The little swervy case. That when those break, it just ruins your. Yeah. You're like, great. Now.
And then there's the things that hold the pamphlet in, the little tiny ticks. They
tear the artwork.
Get stuck in there.
Yeah. So there was, as much as vinyls are more of a nuisance technically to store and to put on, I think one of the reasons we love it is because, and a lot of the friends we have that play
It's
vinyl,
the quality.
Is the quality and the time it takes to put it on.
Yeah.
And art is to be enjoyed, especially your favorite art.
Yeah.
Take time with it.
For sure.
Of course, there's always those times where you're like, fucking, I'm putting my iPod on shuffle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to
If you're
switch
running,
it.
yeah.
Even if I want, I'll switch it halfway through the song. I get in those moods too. But I also get in the moods where I'm like, I'm an album guy. You're the same.
Same.
Album from start to finish while I'm cleaning this room or while I'm whatever, eating. It doesn't matter. And vinyls are a big part of that. The artwork and everything is huge in an interface, and we've talked about that.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because vinyls have kind of come, or they've kind of worked backwards, whereas back in the day, a lot of the vinyls were kind of flimsy. And they aren't as good at quality. Now you get like 200 gram, 180 gram reissues of stuff. And it's just built. It's nice, thick vinyl. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind. When I first started buying vinyl, like if you want quality to be an argument, it depends what kind of vinyl you buy.
Yeah.
Because I used to buy from Hot Topic online because Canadian, it sucks. Canadian Hot Topics can be terrible. Majority of everything in the Hot Topic, in our opinion, is terrible, but we're older now, so it's different. But Canadian Hot Topic stores do not hold vinyl. American ones, they do. And they hold all rare ones, like pop punk ones that you don't see everywhere. So when Blink was being reissued on vinyl at Hot Topic, I bought a few there. I bought a few other vinyls from there as well. And they're all splattered and they look cool and stuff. Well, the quality's not always that good. So that's just some advice. I actually sold some of my Hot Topic vinyls or gave them away as gifts to re-buy the same album.
But in a higher quality.
Yeah, 180 gram, right? So it's just something to keep in mind. Just because it might be a different color and stuff like that, Hot Topic doesn't always carry the best quality.
No, and the thing is I find is it does make a difference, the quality.
Totally.
It's just unreal. You put on like an old record from your parents' collection and you can hear like scratches and stuff and, you know, the grainy noise. And you put on a new record that's like 180 gram and it's just clear as day.
Yeah.
And it's just so satisfying to me.
That's cool. And obviously your whole system has to do with that too. Like
yeah.
People are like, oh, vinyl sound better. It's like, well, what kind of speakers do you have? Right?
Yeah.
What are you dealing with?
And I think that's the same with all music. You got to listen to music loud on big speakers to get the full impact of it, man.
Or like there's times
good
with
headphones too.
Good headphones. Yeah.
There's good headphone albums.
What I love about headphones is you can literally get lost.
Yeah, man.
More than anything.
Yeah.
When I lived in the city, traveling all the time.
When I go to school, man.
Yeah.
You put on your headphones.
You disappear.
Take a walk.
Yeah.
You're in your own little world, man.
It's so great. Good. And so one thing we could say, we were going to say some positives also about how the way music is being released and everything now is with the internet. And even though CDs are dying and vinyls are thriving, but still, it's still rough to keep open stores and stuff like that. Without the internet and how easy access to listening to music illegally and legally, we would not know at least half the bands we know.
I know, man.
Think how much money would have to go into exploring.
And I remember back in the day when we were the first people to download music.
Yeah.
And we would spend hours on LimeWire, infecting our computer.
Yeah.
Downloading
one
single
song.
files.
Yeah, one song.
Complete albums, discographies. Each song you'd have to download.
Yeah.
And I just spent hours doing that. And now that's kind of obsolete because, you have streaming and everything and iTunes, and you don't really need to infect your computer like that.
And I've had arguments with people we've known in the past, people we've worked with musically and all that about, like, because there was a point where, like, even our band that we were in, Final Sight, was releasing CDs and stuff like that, trying to do that. And it's like, why do that in a world that you can't, there's nothing we can do about this. All we can do is the music lovers that are obsessed with physical copies buy music.
Yep.
And another important thing, yes, tickets to shows have skyrocketed because people don't buy music anymore. So go support them.
Buy merch when you're there.
Buy merch.
Goes right into their pocket, man.
I know it sounds ridiculous because you're like, wow, I spent $100 on this show, or $80 or $40,
man,
and now they're asking for $40 for a T-shirt, and it's like, remember that you've been stealing their music, probably.
Yeah.
These people have been working their ass off, and it's to confirm, if you like the band that much and you want to see them again, buy something at the merch table, because
exactly.
that supports everyone that's working that day, putting together the stage stuff.
It goes right back into their pockets, man.
Yeah.
The music business has changed a lot. If you want to support a band, you got to buy their merch. You got to buy their tickets.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
And yeah, so we understand the world we live in, how it's not always about, oh, I'm going to buy this song because I know that that's the way it is now. A lot of people illegally download, but the things you love, please buy.
Yes.
Whether it's online, physical copies, or just go to a fucking show and pay the money. Because that's what I worry about, is there's going to be a point where you're no longer, like, it's okay, the way it is right now is sketchy, but I don't want it to get any worse. Like, imagine if vinyl's gone.
No.
I don't know if that'll happen. It's skyrocketing now, but this could be a phase.
That's true.
So we don't know.
The next big thing could come along, man.
Yeah.
Like, look at all the stuff that's changed in the 25, 26 years we're alive. We've seen the CD, seen the record come back. We've got streaming of music, downloads. No one really downloads things anymore. So that's four different things we've been exposed to. 2 of them are probably going to be obsolete in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Won't talk about, won't do anything. So, in the ever-changing world, it is really sad that HMV has closed. But at the same time, we're excited for all the local record stores because they'll get more business.
They'll pick up the pace.
Yeah, they'll be more informed.
Those people live and breathe music.
Yeah, like
they're not just...
you pick up a record, they'll tell you everything about that record.
Yeah.
All right, that is all the time we have for today on the New Noise Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to episode 4. We had a blast talking about Image, about re-releases, and also we're sad to hear about HMV closing down across Canada. All right, we will see you guys on the next episode. Have a good one from me, Ben.
And Connor.
Yeah.
Woo!